James Spann, welcome back to the show. I know we wish we had other things to discuss, but in our list of things to discuss, the bad side of severe weather and a lot of sadness across some of the communities that listen to the show, watch the show today.
Yeah, another tragic tornado event for many cities across the southeast United States, Rick and Bubba. We had obviously loss of life yesterday, and we've had tornadoes in multiple states, parts of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. And the damage assessments are still underway. And obviously the focus, it's on the tornado that's produced the loss of life. This was in Lee County, Alabama. This is a little south of Auburn and Opelika in a community called Beauregard, and only about 10 miles really southeast of Auburn. And the National Weather Service survey teams are in there this morning, and they will determine the EF scale number, the enhanced Fujita scale number of this tornado. They did get a look at some of the damage late yesterday, and they clearly said this is at least an EF3. They might upgrade that number later today, but again, they're taking a look at it. And this is a reminder that the spring tornado season is here, fellas. You know, this is nothing unusual, unfortunately, a March, April, May. But looking at some of the damage, there's no doubt that this was probably a 4 in my mind. We know at least 23 people have been killed. In fact, as we speak this morning, we're waiting on an update from the sheriff in Lee County. They're planning, and they actually had planned the news conference for about 1 hour ago, but there's clearly fear here that the death toll is going to go higher in coming days. The East Alabama Medical Center, which is up in Opelika, Alabama, treated at least 40 people yesterday and last night, and again, some were sent to other hospitals. And we should mention, again, this is not the only tornado that's touched down. We've got tornadoes in parts of Georgia. Talbot, Georgia was hit very hard. The community of Cairo, Georgia was hit very hard last night. And now we're getting the first light of day. We'll know much more about the extent of the damage and more of the numbers in terms of the loss of life and the injury count. But it's been a very, very rough 24 hours here across the Deep South. But I do want to say, fellows, there was an excellent warning for all of these. The Storm Prediction Center could not have done better in terms of the placement of their watches, the local weather service offices in terms of the warnings that they issued. For the Lee County tornado, most people had a good 15 to 25 minutes lead time on the tornado. And, of course, later we'll do some social science studies and trying to determine, did everybody hear the warning? Did they hear the warning? Did they do anything? Did they live in a mobile home? Were they in a car? We just don't know a lot of this right now. But I will say that the warnings could not have been better. In fact, the National Weather Service in Birmingham actually upgraded the tornado warning to a tornado emergency, which is the highest level message we can send before the tornado came through Lee County yesterday.
Well, James, that was kind of the question we were wondering because we've been very fortunate in several of the last tornado emergencies that we did not have a lot of loss of life, but then we're back to reality with this one, and we just don't know. We don't even really have any idea geographically exactly where those deaths were at, right?
Well, we pretty much know from the Lee County Sheriff the last time he gave us an update, most of the damage was in Beauregard, which is a community that's south of Auburn and Opelika. That tornado, this is southern Lee County, is south of Interstate 85. And it came through Beauregard and then came out across U.S. Highway 280 around Smith Station, which is south of Opelika. And all of the fatalities were concentrated right in that area in Alabama. And again, there could be more fatalities in other communities in parts of South Georgia. We just don't know that at this point. But clearly, I think this is going to be where most of the loss of life has occurred. And again, based on everything we can hear, it sounds like the number might be going higher. In fact, any minute now, we're going to have this news conference from the sheriff down in Opelika in Lee County, and he'll tell us, give us the updated numbers. And fellas, they're still doing search and rescue as we speak this morning. This has been going on all night tonight. And once the sun goes down, it's absolutely brutal. And understand, if this was an EF4 tornado, a strong, violent tornado, and you hate to even talk about this, people can be lofted just like debris. And they might find somebody that's 100 yards from their house. And then even for the first responders that come in there, you can't really determine where the houses used to be. It doesn't look like it's looked all your life.
Yep.
And often people can't vocalize their need for help if they're seriously injured. And it takes a long time to find people. And there was an urgent response from all the first responders. And they've got a great emergency management. I've had a chance to tour their facility. I spent some time with them recently, and they're the best at what they do. But still, fellas, it is hard looking for people in the middle of the night for something like this.
Yeah, and so the only questions that would remain, you've made clear they don't have the answer yet, because I'm with Bubba. I know we'll all want to know, what contributed to these kinds of numbers that we haven't heard in a while, thankfully, and we don't know those answers yet. So when we have those, we'll look. The bottom line is these were very destructive, powerful storms. We know, and then we'll continue to unpack what happened. But when you think about, you said it is the tornado season. It is, and of course we got a winter storm going on in our country too. But there was just weather patterns were changing at a rapid rate over the weekend.
Yeah, and it's your classic setup for these tornadoes. It happens often, unfortunately, in the southeast United States this time of the year. This is called Dixie Alley. You've got two areas of high tornado occurrence in the country. One is the Great Plains Tornado Alley, and one is Dixie Alley. And this is down here in Alabama, in Georgia, in Tennessee, in Mississippi, where so many rough storms like this have happened over the years and decades and centuries this time of the year. And unfortunately, it's not that uncommon for it to happen, but it certainly did. And one thing we've learned, fellas, our background is physical science. That's what we do. We don't have any training in human behavior and social science. And we are tasked with getting people to do something. And we work really hard with social scientists to take kind of an interdisciplinary approach on this over the last 8 years after what happened in 2011 to help us be better at getting people to take action. And again, we were hoping that after the things we've learned from the social scientists that we would not have such high loss of life in a tornado again. And I guess maybe that's, pie in the sky, but we'll go back later. This is not the time to, do it at this moment. The time right now, it's to help people.
Yep.
But later we'll go back and do a study in terms of, did people not hear the warning? And if they heard the warning, maybe they didn't do anything, or were they in a position where they couldn't find a shelter? Maybe they lived in a mobile home and they had no place to go. All this stuff we'll find out later. But to see this kind of loss of life with this type of warning is certainly very discouraging for all of us in the weather enterprise. But then again, fellas, we do know that people's lives were saved, I'm sure, after hearing warnings, and we'll celebrate those lives saved, at some point down the line. But again, our focus typically is on the loss of life, and I'm afraid the numbers will keep going higher today.
All right, James, thanks for the update, and thanks for what you guys do. And I know this is that harder side of it, but we always learn every time we go through one of these to help some people in the future. All right, James Spann with the update. We'll give you more updates as we get them.